Hello, English learner. Welcome back to English Speaking and Listening Club. I am so glad you are here today. Something in your awareness brought you to this moment. Maybe you have noticed the strange reactions you get when you stay calm while others panic. Maybe you have felt the distance that opens up when you say no with quiet certainty, when you refuse to be drawn into drama, when you choose your own path regardless of pressure. Maybe you have sensed that your growth, your discipline, your self-mastery is not always celebrated, that sometimes it is met with suspicion, with coldness, with subtle attempts to pull you back down. Wherever you are, whatever resistance you have encountered in your journey toward self-control, I want you to know that you are not alone. You are part of a family now, a family of people who want to speak English with confidence, with joy, with freedom. And today, I want to talk to you about something that might explain these experiences, something that might feel uncomfortable to recognize but is essential to understand. Why people fear those who control themselves, why your strength threatens others, why your independence makes you dangerous to systems that depend on dependence, and why this fear, properly understood, is confirmation that you are on the right path. Let me start with a truth that few people speak aloud. Most people do not want you to be free. They want you to be predictable. They want you to be reactive. They want you to be controllable, not because they are evil, not because they consciously plot against you, but because your predictability makes them feel safe. Your reactivity gives them leverage. Your controllability allows them to manage their own anxiety through managing you. When you become someone who cannot be predicted, cannot be provoked, cannot be manipulated, you become a variable they cannot account for. And variables are frightening to people who have built their lives on controlling their environment, on knowing what others will do, on having power through understanding and anticipating weakness. Think about the last time you remained calm in a situation where others lost control. Maybe it was an argument where you did not raise your voice. Maybe it was a crisis where you did not panic. Maybe it was a temptation where you did not give in. Remember the looks you received, the confusion, the suspicion, the attempts to escalate, to find your breaking point, to prove that you were not really calm, that you were hiding something, that your control was fake. This is fear in action. Fear of what they cannot understand, fear of what they cannot reach, fear of what they cannot become. Your self-control holds up a mirror to their lack of it, and mirrors are uncomfortable when we do not like what we see. I know this is hard to accept. You want to be liked. You want your growth to inspire others. You want your strength to be celebrated, and sometimes it is. But often it is not. Often your discipline is called obsession, your boundaries are called selfishness, your calm is called coldness, your focus is called neglect, your success is called luck, your happiness is called arrogance. These labels are not descriptions, they are defenses against the threat you represent. Because if you can control yourself, if you can build a life through discipline and choice, then their excuses are revealed as excuses. Their limitations are revealed as choices. Their suffering is revealed in part as self-created. And this revelation is terrifying. It is easier to diminish you than to become like you. It is easier to call you lucky than to do the work. It is easier to find flaws in your path than to walk their own. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. Sarah came to me when she was 36 years old. She had transformed her life through rigorous self-control. She had left an unhealthy marriage, built a successful business, developed extraordinary physical fitness, and learned 3 languages including English, which she now spoke with confidence. She should have been celebrated. Her family should have been proud. Her friends should have been inspired. Instead, she was isolated. Her mother constantly found fault with her parenting, suggesting she was neglecting her children for her ambitions. Her sister made jokes about her discipline, calling her boring, robotic, no fun anymore. Her old friends drifted away, saying she had changed. She thought she was better than them. She was no longer relatable. New acquaintances were wary, suspicious of her happiness, waiting for it to crack, for her to reveal the hidden misery they were certain must exist. Sarah was confused and hurt. She had done everything right. She had worked so hard. She had become someone she respected. Why was she being punished for it? We worked together to understand that she was not being punished. She was being feared. Her family feared that her leaving meant they should leave too, should examine their own choices, should face their own dissatisfaction. Her friends feared that her growth revealed their stagnation, made their complaints sound like excuses, threatened the comfortable equilibrium of mutual limitation. New people feared that her calm, her clarity, her obvious self-possession meant she could see through them, that she was judging them, that she was unattainable. None of this was about her. It was about them, their fear, their projections, their unacknowledged desires and disappointments. This understanding changed everything for Sarah. She stopped trying to convince them to celebrate her. She stopped apologizing for her growth. She stopped shrinking to make them comfortable. She accepted that her strength would always generate some fear, that this was the price of becoming real, that not everyone would be able to meet her where she was. And she chose her path anyway. She built new relationships with people who were also growing, who recognized her, who were not threatened but inspired. She maintained love for her family but stopped needing their approval. She became, if anything, more controlled, more calm, more certain. And eventually some people came around. They saw that her strength was not a rejection of them. It was simply her becoming herself. Others never did. And she made peace with that. She told me recently that the greatest gift of her self-mastery was not success or peace, though she had both. It was the clarity to see what was hers and what was not. To stop taking responsibility for other people's fear of her. This is what I want you to understand. The fear you generate is not your fault. It is not your responsibility to manage. It is the natural consequence of your growth, of your becoming someone who cannot be easily influenced, easily predicted, easily controlled. This fear confirms your progress. It is evidence that you have crossed a threshold, that you are no longer playing the old games, that you have become, in some essential way, free. And freedom is always frightening to those who are not. But I want to be careful here. I'm not saying you should try to generate fear. I'm not saying you should be cold, arrogant, dismissive, superior. These are not self-control. They are defenses, performances, attempts to seem strong rather than being strong. True self-control does not need to intimidate. It does not need to prove. It does not need to be recognized. It simply is. The fear it generates is incidental, not intentional. It is a byproduct of your reality, not a goal of your behavior. Your job is not to make people fear you. Your job is to continue becoming yourself, to keep building your capacity for self-direction, to remain calm when provoked, focused when distracted, committed when tempted. The fear this generates in others is their response, their work, their opportunity for growth, not yours to manage. Let me explain why self-control generates fear at a deeper level. Most people live in a world of emotional exchange. They are constantly trading feelings, reactions, validations with others. You make me feel good, I make you feel good. You hurt me, I hurt you back. You ignore me, I pursue you. This economy of emotion is how they understand relationships. It is how they feel connected, important, real. When you enter this economy with self-control, you break the rules. You do not trade reactions for reactions. You do not escalate when provoked. You do not pursue when ignored. You do not flatter when flattered. You act from your own center, your own intention, your own values, and this makes you unreadable, unpredictable, uncontrollable. You are speaking a different language, playing a different game, existing in a different dimension. And this is existentially frightening to those who have never considered that such a dimension exists. That such freedom is possible, that they too could choose differently. Your calm in crisis is particularly threatening. Most people depend on shared panic to feel sane. When everyone is worried, their worry is validated. When everyone is angry, their anger is justified. When you remain calm, you remove this validation. You force them to question whether their reaction is necessary, whether their emotion is proportional, whether they are actually in control of themselves. This questioning is uncomfortable. It is easier to attack your calm, to find reasons for it that protect their self-image. You must be repressing, you must not care, you must be in denial. Anything to avoid the possibility that you are simply stronger, simply more controlled, simply more free. Your boundaries are similarly threatening. Most people have porous boundaries. They say yes when they mean no. They accept treatment they resent. They allow access they regret. They depend on others having similarly porous boundaries so that the mutual violation feels like connection. When you have clear boundaries, when you say no without explanation, when you remove yourself from situations that do not serve you, you expose their lack of boundaries. You make their yeses look like weakness. You make their staying look like imprisonment. You make their complaints sound like choices they are too afraid to unmake. This exposure generates resentment. It is easier to call you difficult, selfish, uncaring than to build their own boundaries. Your success without suffering is perhaps the most threatening of all. Many people believe that success requires sacrifice, pain, compromise of integrity. This belief allows them to feel noble in their suffering, justified in their limitations, superior in their struggle. When you succeed through discipline, through clarity, through consistent choice, without the drama they associate with achievement, you threaten this narrative. You suggest that suffering is optional, that struggle is often self-created. That success might be simpler, more available, more ordinary than they have allowed themselves to believe. This suggestion is devastating to identities built on heroic endurance. It is easier to find flaws in your success, to attribute it to luck or privilege or some hidden cost you are not revealing, than to consider that they too could choose differently. I want to give you strategies for carrying this fear with grace, because you will generate it. As you grow, as you control yourself, as you become more free, you will encounter this resistance. First, expect it. Do not be surprised when your growth creates distance. Do not take it personally when your strength generates suspicion. This is physics. This is the natural response to change. Second, do not defend yourself. Do not explain your calm, justify your boundaries, apologize for your success. These defenses invite more attack. They suggest that your strength requires validation. It does not. Let your reality speak. Let time reveal the truth. Third, maintain compassion. The fear you generate is born of pain, of unacknowledged potential, of dreams deferred, of freedom not taken. These people are suffering even if they do not know it. You can hold this understanding without taking responsibility for their response, without shrinking to comfort them, without abandoning your path to walk theirs. Your English learning will generate this fear too. As you improve, as you speak with confidence, as you refuse to apologize for your accent or your pace, you will encounter resistance. People who knew you before will want you to stay the same, to be the person they could help, could feel superior to, could relate to through shared struggle. Your improvement threatens this dynamic. They may mock your practice. They may find errors you no longer make. They may remind you of past failures. They may suggest you are getting too ambitious, too confident, too different. This is fear, fear of your growth, fear of what it means about their stagnation. Do not let it stop you. Do not shrink to make them comfortable. Continue building your skill, your confidence, your self-control. Find new communities that support your growth. Maintain love for the old without needing their approval. The ultimate response to fear is not to generate more fear, but to generate more freedom. To become so completely yourself that your presence invites others to consider their own possibilities. Not through pressure, not through persuasion, simply through example, through the undeniable reality of a life well lived, well chosen, well controlled. Some will be inspired, most will be frightened, a few will attack. Your job is not to manage their response. Your job is to continue becoming. To build your self-control until it is unshakable, until your calm is not an act but a nature, until your boundaries are not defenses but definitions, until your success is not a goal but a byproduct of who you are. So here is your practice. Notice where you generate fear. Notice who becomes uncomfortable when you are controlled, when you are calm. When you are clear, do not shrink to comfort them. Do not explain to appease them. Do not succeed less to make them feel better. Hold your ground with compassion. Continue your growth with determination. And trust that the right people will find you, the people who are also growing, who are not threatened but inspired, who can meet you in your strength and add to it. These people exist, but you will not find them by staying small. You will find them by becoming fully yourself. If this message touched your heart today, if you recognized the loneliness of growth, the cost of self-control, the fear you generate simply by being free, then I ask you to do 3 things. First, like this video. Let me know you are here. Let me know you are choosing to grow despite the resistance. Second, subscribe to English Speaking and Listening Club. Join this family of people who are learning that true strength sometimes isolates before it connects, that the right relationships come to those who are brave enough to be themselves. And third, practice your self-control today. In one interaction where you would normally react, choose response. In one moment where you would normally explain, choose silence. In one situation where you would normally shrink, choose presence. Feel the fear you generate, and choose yourself anyway. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being willing to be feared in order to be free. I will be here next time. Until then, be calm, be controlled, be yourself, and trust that your strength properly held will eventually call forth strength in others, that your freedom properly lived will eventually inspire freedom in those who are ready, that your growth properly continued will eventually find its community. You are not alone, you are just ahead. And we are coming.